That seat is for my real daughter. Get out." Those were the words Michael Carter said to me at his retirement party in front of nearly 80 people. And then he pushed me. The room went silent as I stumbled backward, my heel catching the edge of the platform. I hit the polished hardwood floor hard, the sound echoing across the ballroom. My navy blue dress tore along the hem. It had once belonged to my mother. She had worn it to their final anniversary dinner before cancer took her. I wore it that night because I wanted a piece of her there, a reminder to my father of the life we had before everything changed. But the man standing above me looked at me like I was a stranger. Behind him, the young woman he called his real daughter slid into the chair I had just tried to sit in, and the room watched. No one moved, no one spoke. But what my father didn't know, what nobody in that room knew, was that the daughter he had just handed my seat to had been quietly stealing from him for 8 months, and my husband was standing across the room with proof in his jacket pocket. Before the story continues, take a second to like this video and subscribe to Fate and Truth Stories if you enjoy powerful, real lifestyle storytelling. And tell me in the comments where you're watching from and what time it is there. Now let me take you back to where this story really began. My name is Emma Carter. I'm 31 years old, and 3 years before that retirement party, my father and I still had a relationship. Back then, my dad was a different man. Michael Carter had spent 35 years working at a manufacturing plant outside Austin, Texas. He woke up every morning at 5, coffee in the same chipped mug, steel-toe boots by the door, lunch packed in a dented metal box. When I was a kid, he used to take me to construction sites on weekends. I would walk around wearing boots that were too big for my feet, trying to keep up with him. He would point at steel beams or concrete supports and explain things I didn't understand yet. "See that beam?" he'd say. "It's holding everything up. The most important parts of a structure are the ones people never notice." I was 9 years old. I didn't understand engineering yet, but I listened. Years later, I became a structural engineer, and suddenly every one of those lessons made sense. My mother, Laura Carter, was an emergency room nurse. She worked nights so she could be home when I got off the school bus. She smelled of antiseptic and lavender, and she sang terribly while she cooked dinner. But somehow she made our tiny kitchen feel warmer than any place I've ever lived since. Our family life revolved around one piece of furniture, an old oak kitchen table my father had built the year I was born. 3 chairs, one for each of us. No one extra, no one missing. Then, everything changed. My mom was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer when I was 11. She died 14 months later. I was 12. My father never cried in front of me, not once. He went to work the week after the funeral. He kept making dinner. He kept sitting at that oak table every night across from me. My mother's chair stayed empty. For 3 years, it was just the two of us. Quiet, lonely, but it was still our home. Then, one evening, Dad sat me down and said he had met someone. He promised me something. "She'll never replace your mom." I believed him. The woman he brought home was named Victoria Hale. She walked into our lives wearing expensive clothes and a smile that looked like it had been practiced in a mirror. She was elegant, polished, divorced, and she had a daughter named Claire who was 2 years younger than me. At first, things seemed normal. Victoria complimented the house. She asked about my classes. She even offered to help teach me how to drive. But 6 months after they got married, things began to change. Slowly, quietly. The oak kitchen table disappeared. Victoria replaced it with a marble dining set. "Something more modern," she said. Dad agreed. The old table was moved to the garage. Then, one morning, I came downstairs and noticed something else. My chair was gone. The one my dad had carved my initials into when I was 8 years old. Victoria smiled politely. "We needed matching chairs," she said. Claire moved into the house permanently around that time, and almost immediately she started calling my father Dad. The first time she said it, he looked emotional. He hugged her, and I stood in the kitchen doorway watching. That was the moment I first felt like a guest in my own home. A few years later, I left for college, full scholarship, engineering. Dad drove me to campus himself, helped me carry boxes into my dorm room, then stood in the parking lot for a long time after I told him I'd be fine. Victoria didn't come. She said she had a migraine. Every time I came home after that, something else had changed. Photos of my mom slowly disappeared from the walls. Her recipe box vanished from the kitchen. Her garden was ripped out and replaced with decorative plants that didn't bloom. Eventually, even my bedroom was gone. Victoria turned it into a yoga room. My belongings were stacked in cardboard boxes in the garage next to the old oak table. I didn't argue. I didn't fight. And that was probably my biggest mistake, because sometimes the things you don't defend are the first things people decide they can take, and eventually, they take everything. 3 years before the retirement party, something happened that would change my life. But at the time, I didn't even know it yet.
3 years after my father stopped speaking to me, an email appeared in my inbox. Not from him, not from Victoria, from the event coordinator at Carter Industrial Manufacturing. Subject line: Retirement celebration from Michael Carter, 35 years of service. Location: Riverside Country Club. Black tie optional. Family welcome. I stared at the email for almost 20 minutes. 3 years. 3 years of silence. 3 years of phone calls that went unanswered. 3 years of texts that never received a reply. And now suddenly I was being invited to his retirement party. Marcus walked into the kitchen and noticed my face. "What's wrong?" he asked. I turned my laptop toward him. He read the email slowly. "You should go," he said. "He hasn't spoken to me in 3 years," I replied. Marcus leaned back in his chair. "Exactly." The way he said it made something click in my mind. This might be your only chance to talk to him in a room where he can't walk away. I didn't realize then that Marcus already knew more about the situation than I did, but he kept that to himself. Instead, he asked one simple question: "What are you going to wear?" That's when I opened the closet and saw the navy blue dress, my mother's dress. Simple, elegant, boat neckline, 3/4 sleeves. She had worn it to her last anniversary dinner with my father, the last happy night they had together before her diagnosis. I held the fabric in my hands for a long time. Then I decided, if I was going to face my father after 3 years, I wanted a piece of my mother there with me. The country club was exactly what you would expect from a retirement celebration for a man who had worked 35 years in the same company. Crystal chandeliers, white linen tablecloths, a slideshow projector displaying old photographs. The parking lot was full of coworkers, supervisors, and families. Marcus parked the car and looked at me. "You ready?" he asked. "No," I said honestly, "but I'm going anyway." Inside the entrance hall, a large seating chart listed every guest and their table assignment. I walked over and scanned the head table. Michael Carter, Victoria Carter, Claire Hale, 3 company executives. My name wasn't there. I checked again. Nothing, not even at another table. I had been invited, but not given a seat. Marcus squeezed my hand. "Let's just go inside." Victoria met us near the foyer. She looked exactly the same as always, elegant, perfectly dressed, smiling like a politician. "Oh, Emma," she said, as if she were surprised. "I didn't think you would actually come." "The invitation said family," I replied. Her smile tightened slightly. "Of course it did." She guided us through the ballroom, not toward the head table. Instead, she stopped near the back wall, a small table beside the service corridor. 2 chairs, no place cards, no decorations, just a breadbasket. Marcus and I sat down. From there, I could see my father clearly. He sat at the head table, wearing a dark suit and a gold watch Victoria had given him. Claire sat beside him. Her hand rested casually on his arm. She looked exactly like a daughter should look beside her father. Comfortable, belonging. My father glanced across the room. For a moment, our eyes met. I waited for something. Recognition, shock, anything. But he turned away, back to the people beside him, back to the table where my name did not exist. The slideshow began. 35 years of photographs. My father on factory floors, my father shaking hands with executives, my father receiving safety awards. Then the family photos appeared. Victoria and my father at a vineyard, Claire and my father at a football game. Victoria, Claire, and my father standing on the porch of the house I grew up in. Photo after photo, not one picture of me, not one picture of my mother. It was like we had never existed. Victoria walked onto the stage and tapped the microphone. "Good evening, everyone," she said warmly. Tonight, we celebrate an incredible husband and father. Applause filled the room. And I'd like to give special recognition to Richard's daughter, Claire, who has made him so proud. Claire stood and waved. More applause. My chest felt hollow. Marcus squeezed my hand under the table. Then I made a decision. I stood up. Marcus looked at me. "Are you sure?" "I didn't drive 4 hours to sit at the kids' table," I said. And I walked across the room. Every conversation slowly faded as people noticed. I reached the head table. One empty chair sat at the end. I rested my hand on the back of it. "Dad," I said. The room went quiet. My father looked up slowly. His expression hardened. "It's been 3 years. Can we talk?" Victoria leaned toward him and whispered something. I couldn't hear it, but whatever she said worked. My father stood up. For a split second, I thought he was going to hug me. Instead, he shoved me backward. I fell off the platform onto the hardwood floor. The seam of my mother's dress tore. "That seat is for my real daughter," he said loudly. "Get out." The room froze. Claire slid into the chair I had tried to take. "It's okay, Dad," she said softly. "She can't hurt you anymore." 80 people watched. Nobody moved. Nobody spoke. I started pushing myself up from the floor, one step from walking out. Then Marcus stood up. He adjusted his suit jacket calmly and walked across the room. Victoria saw him first. "Marcus," she called sweetly, "I think it's best if you take Emma home." Marcus ignored her. He reached down and helped me stand. Then he turned toward my father. "Mr. Carter," he said calmly, "I'm Emma's husband." My father glared. "Take her and leave." Marcus nodded. "We will." Then he added one sentence. "But first, when was the last time you checked your retirement account beneficiaries?" My father blinked. "What?" Marcus reached into his jacket pocket and pulled out a thick envelope. Inside were 2 documents. He laid them on the table. 8 months ago, someone changed your 401k and pension beneficiaries." The room went silent again. The original form listed Emma as your beneficiary. Marcus pointed to the second document. "This one lists Claire as the sole beneficiary." My father frowned. "I never signed that." Marcus slid the document closer. "Exactly." My father stared at the signature. His face slowly changed. "That's not my handwriting." Victoria stepped forward quickly. "Those papers are fake." Marcus had his head. "They came directly from your company's HR system." Then he looked straight at my father. "And the email used to submit the change came from your home computer." The room erupted in whispers. My father slowly looked at Victoria. "Did you?" Victoria's mask finally cracked, and for the first time in 3 years, my father realized the truth. The daughter he had pushed to the floor was the only one who had never stopped trying to reach him, and the family he thought he had built was built on lies. If this story moved you, like the video and subscribe to Fate and Truth Stories for more powerful real-life inspired stories. And tell me in the comments, what would you have done if your own parent treated you like this?